everybody, today we're going to be focusing all about PTD, PPD, and ME+. These sound like tongue twisters, right? They are. So we are going to tap into Val to get a little bit more information on what these acronyms mean. Val?
Well, these are dye molecules. In a previous episode, we talked about oxidative dyes versus direct dyes, and PPD, PTD, and ME+ are just oxidative dyes that you find in permanent or demi-permanent hair color. There are two types of oxidative dyes, primaries and secondaries, and these are primaries, so they're responsible for primarily developing the color that you see in the hair.
So nowadays we're seeing a lot about PPD free, or PPD causes allergies, PPD this or that. So what exactly is PPD doing when it's in hair color, and why does it cause allergies?
Well, PPD is a primary in hair color, so it's responsible for creating many of the brown shades that we see. It has first been in use in hair color since the early 1900s when Eugene Schuler commercialized it for home hair color, and that company became L'Oreal. And over the years, it's been in use in not only both home hair color, but salon hair color as a primary developer for the colorants. Over the years, sensitivity has arisen to it. Like any hair colorant, people can be allergic to it, much like people are allergic to different fruits or nuts or that kind of thing. And PPD and PTD and ME+ actually have the same generic shape, but they have these different substituents on them, on the aromatic ring, that allow them to have a little bit different influence in the color. So if PPD couples with a secondary, it will produce one color. PTD will produce a similar looking color, similar in structure but a little bit different. And then ME+, again structurally similar, but it has this methoxy arm on the 2 position from the ring, will produce a similar color but very slightly different. Now, the controversy with PPD is that people can be allergic to it. It actually has a 0.9% allergy incident rate and is probably one of the most vilified ingredients in hair color. People think it's a carcinogen. It's not. It's actually just an allergen, and the allergy can be pretty serious, and it's why we recommend to patch test 48 hours before you use hair color, because allergies do take some time to show, whereas irritants show immediately.
When people are allergic to PPD, what should we look for? Are we looking for hives? Are we looking for just swelling, or are they subtle? What could be like the minimum to the maximum?
Oftentimes, the warning signs can start as a localized rash or reaction that appears on the skin where the color is deposited onto the skin. It can start to spread. A lot of times on the internet you see people who've had PPD reactions, their whole face is swollen, but it really is a systemic allergic response from the immune system all over your body. So you can start to look for itching, rash, swelling. The signs can start small, and they can certainly get worse as you go on. You never get used to PPD in your hair color. A lot of people I know take allergen pills before they get their hair colored to kind of offset the effects they're having. It's not stopping the allergic response, and the allergy can only get worse from there. So if you have a PPD allergy, it should be taken seriously. You can get diagnosed with a PPD allergy by contacting your local dermatologist and have an allergen test performed, and they can diagnose whether or not you're allergic to it in your hair color.
That actually has happened to me before, and I sent my client to the dermatologist, and it was actually PPD. So it was good that she got checked, and she really couldn't color her hair after that. When it comes to PPD free hair color, what is replacing that?
Most companies are using what we call PTD. Again, that's toluene 2,5-diamine sulfate. And that is just another primary hair color. People can also be allergic to that. It has almost the same allergy incidence rate as PPD, but people are not talking about it in the world. What's also interesting is if you are allergic to PPD, you have a high risk for having a cross-allergenic potential to PTD. So if you are allergic to PPD, using a PPD-free hair color may not even be a good alternative. and you should consult your doctor before making that decision.
So it sounds like it's more marketing, just to kind of keep people from, if this is your niche that you're allergic, you can use this, but in reality, you still may be allergic.
Exactly. I said most companies are using PTD as an alternative because there is one other dye molecule, we've talked about it, ME+, that is pretty revolutionary on the market. It was first patented in 1999 by Wella, and they did a lot of research over the years to look at the low allergenicity potential of using that as a primary. They recognized early on that PPD and PTD could be an issue in the future for hair color, and this is their proprietary technology that they use and they've licensed to other companies.
It's pretty safe to say if a hair color other than that brand is saying they're PPD free or they're allergen free or whatever the case is in marketing, unless they have ME+, it's actually going to be PTD.
It's most likely going to be PTD. There are a few other dye combinations that you can make to make those brown colors. They just don't have the coverage or perform as well.
That sounds really interesting to know all this, because I think with marketing, it gets very convoluted as to, you think it's safe, you think it's not an issue, you skip the patch test, you skip doing that allergy test to be sure, and then you have a flare-up, and that could be a potential lawsuit or definitely something negative that could happen amongst you and your client. So always patch test, always do that allergy test. What's the best way to do an allergy test?
It's done usually at your dermatologist's office, so your hairdresser or even me, the chemist. I'm not a doctor, I'm not an immunologist, so always important to go see the professionals and get the patch test done. They inoculate your skin with many different compounds and detect if your system is producing an allergic response. It's also important to note, just because you're using PPD-free color or even ME+, that you can still be allergic to other compounds in the formula. Other hair dyes can be sensitizers, fragrance can be sensitizing, and it's important to understand specifically what you're allergic to, which is why you always should patch test, and you should see a doctor determine what you're allergic to. The other thing to note is you can become allergic at any time to something. It's not a one and done, oh, when I was 13, I was patch tested, and now I'm gonna just color my hair for the rest of my life. You can become allergic at any point in time.
That's really great advice. So we know the patch test is going to reveal any type of allergy, but one other thing that I get asked a lot of is PPD or PTD, is it only in permanent hair color or does it also live in demi-permanent?
If it's an oxidative system, meaning if you're adding hydrogen peroxide to the color, it is in those types of hair colors. So it could be permanent, it could be demi-permanent. Almost often never is it in semi-permanent color, although I have seen men's shampoos on the market that are using oxidative dyes and bear a little warning that you should patch test with it, but it's mostly used in permanent and demi-permanent hair color.
That's good to know, especially with the use of demi-permanent on the rise. It's just important, if you are using the oxidative system like you mentioned, to do a patch test. When stylists are looking at the ingredient list to understand if PPD is in their color, what are they looking for?
Well, not all states are required by law to list ingredients on professional hair products, but if you call the manufacturer, if you flip over the package and look for an ingredient listing, you can look for p-phenylenediamine or toluene 2,5-diamine sulfate or ME+. But if it's not on the label, you can contact the manufacturer and get the ingredients listed, at least on a safety data sheet, which dyes are present in there. Also, most brands are listing a section on the box that says this product contains these ingredients, and typically it's phenylenediamines, the toluene diamines, resorcinol, even MEA or ammonia are listed as being in the product to give the user a quick warning of what they can find in it.
Okay, that's great to know. That's great information. So now we'll be a little bit more savvy on what to look for. If these dyes have been around for so many years, why is it on the rise, or are we just learning more through word of mouth, or is it actually on the rise more?
I think it's really tough to say why it's on the rise if it has been used for so long. PPD can be safely used in hair color. Most brands are safely using it today. When it is unsafe to use, it is because you haven't coupled PPD with anything. We talked about primaries and secondaries being in hair color. Primaries want to be with a secondary, and when they don't have a secondary to be with, they start to couple with themselves. PPD, when left by itself, will form something called Bandrovsky's base, and that is a huge issue. There is a theory, and there were a couple papers published again in journals by this professor who has studied the rise of PPD incidents, and she believes that it's the use of tattoos. A lot of people are getting tattoos and using tattoo inks that may have had some PPD in them, and that will cause you to have a reaction. And of course, with the rise of tourism, we have people traveling to beach communities, and black henna is being used on people's skin. Black henna is made black by having PPD by itself, which is causing these allergic reactions in people over time. Black henna is illegal in the United States and many other countries, but it's still being used today. So if you see black henna on the boardwalk, please don't use it. Henna is not supposed to be black. It probably has PPD in it. But this author of this paper believed that's why PPD is on the rise today versus why we haven't seen it many years ago.
That makes sense, and you do see it all the time in those beach communities, and they look really lovely, but if they're causing allergies, it could be an issue.
And the FDA every summer actually puts out a warning on its Twitter saying, say no to black henna tattoos, and I retweet it. So.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Val, for all of your insight and making us be safer hairdressers by using patch testing, allergy testing, and just having the knowledge and the foresight to understand what ingredients look like when they're listed to know what's in our color. We appreciate you, Val, and we hope you learned tons. Comment below, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye, everybody.